Okay, so here we go. So liberals say that the black community is hesitant to get the vaccine. And I know you don't speak for all black people, but I want to get your opinion. Liberals say that the black community is hesitant to get the vaccine because of historic abuses of white political leaders and white medical professionals against black people. I think of eugenics. You know, I mean, some of that, there is something to be said there. So do you, Constance, do you think that that's the real reason? Why do you think that some people, you know, it's like Trump supporters and the black community both tend to have this hesitancy about the vaccine? So, you know, and then there's the famous saying from Nicki Minaj, and she was picked up by, you know, Tucker Carlson. And so there's that whole thing. I would just want to hear your theological, political, cultural commentary on Nicki Minaj, the black community, the vaccine, Tucker Carlson, the whole nine yards. What do you think?
As far as, I actually can, I would say I somewhat agree with that sentiment, unfortunately. And I mean, what else do they expect people to do after 5 years, at least 5 years of being told repeatedly that you are systemically oppressed because of the color of your skin? At least since 2014, when was the situation with in Ferguson? Michael Brown, and then
Trayvon Martin.
Trayvon Martin. At least since 2013, 2014, we have been told over and over and over again that they are after us, they are against us. And there is this thing now where they're talking about healthcare racism. And the CDC director, Rochelle Walensky, actually, she supports that narrative, which is very unfortunate. And so there is that element. But if I'm honest, I don't think that is the whole shebang for why there are Black people hesitant to take, or a large number of Black people hesitant to take the vaccine. You mentioned something about Trump supporters or conservatives, and then Blacks, like how do these things work out? The irony of it all is that most people don't realize that the African American community is largely conservative. Like, it's mostly conservative, and it has a lot of church. A lot of people were raised in the church. At least Black Americans, I'll put it that way. Were raised in the church. You know, you're coming from the South. You're coming from, even though the Bible was weaponized against slaves and things like that, there's the reality that a lot of our ancestors were raised with some knowledge of the Bible. And so it's just been passed down on and on and on. And I have heard Black people, I've heard other races as well, but I've definitely heard Black people who probably have not even walked inside of a church in like the last decade go, you know what, I don't know, like this looks a little crazy, like the whole world is shut down, and you're telling me that the only way I can have a job and do is to take this thing, that's the mark of the beast. And I'm like, okay, well, like, hold on, wait a minute, you know. But a
lot of white people think that.
there is some level of awareness of something's not right. So I do think that there's an element where people may look at it as systemic oppression, but it's unfortunate because you have that situation where even if they think that way, the reality is systemic oppression happens when you are forcing individuals to take a vaccine, you know, in order to participate in the global economy. If they don't do it, they're shut out of society. And it just so happens that at least 60% of the African American community fall into that particular category. So I haven't seen many Black people, especially the Black Lives Matter group. Among the Black Lives Matter group, I have not seen a lot of people who were very much in the streets last year talking about systemic oppression and police brutality and all that. And I've not seen anyone say, wait a minute now, you're telling me that if I don't get this vaccine, I can't do this. And a large population of my people or my community fall into this category. That is systemic oppression. It may not be, the reality is it's not based on race, but who you know, at this point, the logic that they were using last year, who cares what it's truly based on? Because CRT says everything is racist. Right. So I'm surprised that they not use this thing it's a glaring, truthfully, an issue that's very clearly systemic oppression. They're not calling this out at all. And I think someone called out, oh gosh, what is the guy's name? He peddles critical race theory. I forget his name. And they asked him, did he think
Jamar Tisby?
No, it wasn't Jamar. I don't think it was Jamar Tisby. Oh, oh gosh, what is this guy's name? I should have looked it
That's
up.
all right. It's all right.
But they asked him, do you think that the vaccine mandates is, another form of racism? He goes, well, actually, I mean, he didn't know how to answer it. Because if he says it is, then now he becomes an anti-vaxxer. And then now so it's like the ideologies are they're being pit against one another.
You're absolutely right. It's almost like transgenderism and feminism, right?
Yeah.
So it's like LGBT. It's like that T is really messing things up for the L, the G, and the B, right? Because the L, the G, and the B were having a great time, and then all of a sudden the T came along and really made things weird. And so, but you're right. It's like it's this contradiction that how are you a lesbian if there's no such thing as women,
right?
Right? How are you bi? If there's more than two genders or no such thing as gender and it's just a binary construct and all that, and how can you be a feminist if I mean feminist, it's funny, like some people who because things have been changing so rapidly, this sexual revolution is just, this train has been going down the track at just incredible speeds, to the point where just 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, not that long at all, people who were LGBT, and they, advocates and raging feminists, are all of a sudden, and professional athletes, female athletes are all of a sudden really upset. Right? All of a sudden, they're like, oh, whoa, I didn't want it to go there, because now all of a sudden, teenage girls are losing their trophies because a bunch of guys are, putting on makeup and a tracksuit and beating them, and so anyway, so I completely agree. It's just like it's the inconsistency, the illogical nature of man's law versus God's law, of secularism. Secularism is pagan. And what we have to realize is neutrality is a myth. There is no neutrality. It's either you are for Christ or you are against him. And it's either Christ, ultimately any other worldview. So whether it be, Islam on the one side, so let's say Christianity is right here. You could have Islam on the other side, on one side, and then on the other side you have secularism. But both have an agenda. And neither one is morally neutral. And at the end of the day, it's either Christ or chaos. It's Christ or chaos. And so we're seeing chaos right now, and you're absolutely right. It's like, okay, well, this is something that you would tend to think that the liberal media would be eating up, like every chance they get to, because I mean, how long ago was it? Like literally, I think less than a month ago, right? That all of a sudden, these laws for, voter registration are systematically racist and oppressive, because you got to have a driver's license. And as you know, Constance, no black person knows how to get a driver's license. How insulting is that? Right? And so, so that's what we're being told. And now, but that's to vote. You got to have a driver's license. Now we're being said way more than a driver's license. You got to have this vaccine card and inject something in your arm just to have a job and feed your family, right? And that one, we actually do have statistics that it is disproportionately affecting people of color.
Evidence. Yeah, like going back to Bishop Earl, like I need some evidence.
But we can't talk about it.
Yeah, exactly.
But we can't talk about it. So it's so much hypocrisy. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, would you consider supporting this ministry by giving a donation of any amount? You can do so by going to our website, rightresponseministries.com. Let's be frank. Sadly, many evangelical pastors and leaders are serving as nothing more than water carriers for the political left. Just as those in the political left hate you, just like those corporations that are left-leaning hate you, these pastors and evangelical leaders hate you. I know that's a strong statement to make. I'm aware of that, but it's true. They don't care about your personal liberty. They don't care about your freedom. They want you to love your neighbor at the expense of biblical truth, even if it means bearing false witness. That's not us. We're different. We're not the only ones. I don't want to be arrogant. God has reserved a remnant for himself in this time, as he has all other ages and all other places, but they are few and far between. It's called a remnant for a reason. We need your help. We want to stand up to tyranny. We want to stand up to this new left totalitarian regime. We want to defend Christians and people, the salt of the earth, who love America and who love God's word. But we can't do it without your help. If you're not prepared or able to give a financial gift, one way that you can support this ministry is by simply subscribing to our YouTube channel and clicking the bell so that you'll be notified as we come out with new content. You can also help us by sharing our content on all your social media platforms so that more people can hear the truth of God's word with courage and fidelity. Thanks for tuning in. God bless.